What's up, scumbag?
What's up, Birdbrain?
I was gonna call you Birdbrain. I swear I was this close. I was like, it's either gonna be Birdbrain or pork chop. And I went with scumbag.
I had Birdbrain in your mind because I gave you that bird book.
I know, and I just fed the blue jay for like 3 hours today.
And I wanted to tell you, I was excited about calling you Birdbrain and giving you that bird book because I was taking my trash out today, and so I was putting all my recycling together. And the lady who sent me the book that I bought it from, I didn't realize she wrote a little letter. So this is the letter that was in with the book. It says, "Thank you for buying vintage 1956 Birds, a Golden Nature pocketbook. When I was a young girl, our dad took me and my sis on nature hikes, partly to give our mama time to relax, but also to help us learn about nature. Later, as a teacher, I had a whole shelf of these nature books. Kids really enjoy them. When I was a kid, we had to drop everything and read for 15 minutes a day. Guides like this were very popular when I was a girl. Please enjoy it and enjoy your summer even more because of what we went through with COVID."
Aww.
How awesome are like people that take time to do that?
I know. That is so cute. I love it even more now.
I love it that it's not, I love it like her wanting someone to use it and me giving it to someone that I know is going to use it.
Yeah.
Instead of it sitting on like someone's fucking shelf so they can do like a photo shoot.
I know, it's right. It's literally right here. It's right next to me. That is so sweet. I love when I buy stuff from old people and they're just like, I hope you love this. Love, Martha. So cute. Or it's just like wrapped like it's going to go through the apocalypse.
Yes.
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 This is going to be such a shit. You just like created the nicest vibe and I'm about to ruin it. I swear, I know we're on like hearts and flowers, and I'm just gonna fucking roast your ass. My brother texted me the other day because he listens to all of our podcasts. So shout out to Brohammer. And you know how me and you make fun of each other in the style of like literal 7-year-olds? Like that's our thing.
Yeah, dummy poo poo pants.
Yeah, we're not literally gonna hurt each other's feelings. My brother texted me the other day and he's like, "What's with your burns? They're not good enough." And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, they're not supposed to be good. They're supposed to be stupid. And he goes, "Call him a priapism." And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he goes, "It's an unwanted, painful, persistent erection." So that's what I'm supposed to call you this week. But I went for scumbag.
Listen. You know what isn't a good burn?
I don't know.
One that you have to explain to the person.
I know. I know. That I was going to ask you too. And I think you have many stories like this, and we both do, and I think you usually tell me them from Twitter, like somebody tries to burn you and then you're like, no, that's actually true. Or like you take it as a compliment. So I was going to ask you, like, has anybody ever given you a nickname? Or like you found out that somebody was calling you something and you like secretly loved it?
I don't know.
I have this one girl, we're friends now, and I don't even know how we started to hate each other. I think I was friends with her boyfriend and she thought it was like a thing, but it wasn't. I didn't give a shit, but we just hated each other. And it got back to me that she wouldn't say my name in conversation, but when she was talking shit about me, she would call me Scar from Lion King. And I'm like, wait, that's so not an insult. I like was so stoked. Like, that's great. Yes, exactly. If you put a picture of me and Scar next to each other, yes, 100% yes. Perfect. I wasn't even mad at all. But we made up eventually and we're fine now. But I was like, you could do better than that. That's so fucking sick. I wish everybody would call me that.
How is it supposed to be a burn though?
I think it was just how I looked. I don't know, just like dark and angry maybe. I don't know, but that's great. Fuck yeah.
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 That's what I mean, like when insults, I guess I don't understand insults. That's why my insults are so kind of, I guess this goes back to what you were saying. Like It's just so much easier to be like, call someone like a ding dong or a dummy. Like they know exactly what you're doing. Like I'm saying you're a ding dong. I'm saying you're a dummy. But that's why I told you I tweeted to someone. I said that they were a dumby, dumby, because I thought like that's even funnier, like to misspell the word dummy. Then they came back at me and they were like, "You can't even spell dummy, dummy."
You're like, "Thanks, walking right into my trap, you idiot, loser."
But now we know you can have dummies as friends.
I know, dummies and dumpsters and whore faces.
Garbage cans. You always forget garbage cans.
Garbage cans. Can I tell you something? This doesn't have fucking anything to do with anything, but I saw this meme the other day go by, and I thought of you and how you have the stories, and all the meme said was, Kid Rock makes music for people who smoke cigarettes in the house. And you literally just lit up right when I said that. You could hear your lighter while I was finishing the meme. Oh my God, that was perfect. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, you got your Kid Rock stories. I don't fucking have any Kid Rock stories.
Someone asked me the other day, because I posted about how he still owes me $100 from 30 years ago so he could buy hash.
Yeah. What was the story? Were you in a band with him?
The short version of the long story is I was in a band and we were recording at a studio. And I mean, we were like, obviously like 4 broke ass schlubs in a rock and roll band. Like we didn't have any fucking money. And so we were slowly but surely, I think back then the recording studio, I think was like $30 an hour, and you had to rent it in blocks of like 4 hours. So $120 a pop. And that was a lot of money in like 90 and 91. So we'd save up money and we record. And every time we recorded, the person recording after us was Kid Rock. And so over the course of like a couple months of meeting him and seeing him, because we'd been unloading our equipment so he could load his equipment in so he could record, like we all kind of got to know each other. And then I was leaving one time and he said, you know, this record I'm recording right now, because he was independent artist. He was just putting out his own records, you know. Is it 89? No, must have been 90. And he said, I'm like, could you put down some guitar tracks for me? Because he always saw me carrying my guitar stuff out. So I said, yeah, sure. And he's like, I'll pay for some of your studio time. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, then for sure. So I did that, and then we started talking. Life goes on. He went to New York. He got signed by a record label, and the record label asked him the record label was like, you're our rap act. Do you know any rock acts from Detroit? And he said, yeah, I know this band that records at the same studio me. And they're like, well, we want them then. Are they any good? And he was like, yeah, sure. So that record company built a studio in Michigan. It was just like a pole barn studio, but it was like their own studio, and they shipped in all the recording equipment and stuff. So Bob and his band would record their like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. Anyway, and then we recorded the other days.
Yeah.
He was recording an album and we were recording an album and hanging out now a lot because we all had this common studio to hang out in, and we were both all signed to the same record label. Well, all of my band guys started doing a ton of drugs. So this was during the period of time when I wasn't drinking. I still don't do any drugs, but I wasn't drinking, and I was full 100% like, I want to be a rock and roll star. And they were hanging out with him, getting super high, smoking hash, and then they were like not learning the songs I was writing. Then I found out like Joey, our bass player, was like staying and playing bass on Bob's tracks. And then like our singer was singing backup tracks. And I was like, this is not fucking good. So I told my band, like, we're going to break up because you guys aren't taking this serious. You're hanging out with Bob too much. And I think by this time we had been together like 4 or 5 years, and we'd already put our own little record out and everything like that by ourselves. I'm like, this record company is never going to put this record out that we recorded. And I quit, and the band broke up immediately. Then Bob his record contract got sold to Arista like the year after.
Mm-hmm.
And the album Devil Without a Cause came out, which was the album that made him famous. And it's a rock rap album. And all of the rock tracks that we had been recording and all of the samples and all of the songs that I had been working on are those fucking guitar riffs that you hear in that first album.
Is your name on the shit?
No, none of our names are on it.
That's so rude.
He used to perform live. I have bootleg tapes recorded of him live in concert where he would just straight play our songs and sing them with our lyrics. Like, just straight. Yeah, because he liked our songs.
Ugh.
And so that caused a huge, obvious war, and now I haven't talked to him in, 20 years.
Whatever, he's a gross homophobe anyway, so...
Yeah, he's not a great person.
No.
Then the thing that drove me really crazy about him, like, whatever, I always hope the best for people. Like, I'm glad when musicians make it and stuff, but then when I saw, like, the road that he was taking and, like, the fans that he was cultivating, and, like, he was doing that music thing where, like, he's creating this fake backstory for him, because every song was about how broke he was and how poor he was, and I'm just a broke down cowboy from the trailer park. And I was like telling people, I'm like, this motherfucker lived on a 20-acre apple orchard. Like, his dad, like, owned one of the largest car dealerships in Michigan. He was paying for our band's studio time. That's how I met him. Like, he was like an 18-year-old kid with his dad's credit card recording a rap album. Like, he wasn't this broke down nobody. And he went from rich to richer. Like, that's... his name is Bob Ritchie. Like, he's literally Richie Rich. And the thing that disturbed me the most, and it still disturbs me the most, and whatever, families are whatever. I don't know any of his family dynamic. I haven't talked to him in 20 years. Whatever. But there's something about the fact that I do know a ton of people, even around here, that like Kid Rock. When I go to places and people know I have a history with him, they tell me they like Kid Rock. No one knows he has a full-grown, like, 25-year-old son. And that bums me out. That bums me out. He has a 25, 26-year-old, Bob Ritchie Jr. has got to be 26 or 27 now, and is a rap artist. And, like, none of Kid Rock's fans know about him, probably because Robert Ritchie Jr. is half black.
I was just going to say that. Isn't he black? Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not good for Kid Rock's fan base for them to know, like, that Kid Rock has a black son.
Probably not.
And that really breaks my heart and bums me out.
Yeah. I didn't mean for this to be this this episode 15.
I can cut it all out.
Kid Rock blows. No, we don't cut anything out. I was going to bring up, because you're still going through shit too, and I'm obviously still a mess, but I was going to bring up Grief Brain, because it's been really bad lately. Like, just in the last week, in the last couple weeks since being passed, one thing I've been doing a lot is, like, I'll get all the shit out to make a sandwich, and I'll make it, and I'll eat it, and I'll put everything away. And then, like, literally, like, 8 hours later, I'll realize that I left out one fucking thing and it's, like, ruined. Like, we make fake lunch meat, but I still have to fucking refrigerate it. So I'll notice the fake lunch meat is just out. And I fucking didn't remember to put it away because I can't fucking think right now. And then the other day I left for work and I had full on got all the way in my car with slippers on. And I had put pants on and put the slippers back on and got in the car. So, like, I was just going to bring up, like, how Grief Brain is, like, so real and, like,
yeah, you don't have any focus.
No, I don't. There's, like, there's only so much you can do to take care of yourself and, like, do normal stuff at the same time.
I do this weird thing. I don't know if it's weird or not, or maybe it's just a part of the grieving process. Maybe it happens every day. The amount of times varies, but it does happen at least once a day where I'll be, like, walking through my house or on a walk in the neighborhood or doing something, and, like, thoughts will creep into my head that I know are sad or depressing, and out loud I go, no, like, as a way to chase them out. And I'm sure it looks, if anybody was, if anybody could see me like walking through the house and I'm like, got a cup of coffee and I'm just walking through the hallway and I'm like, no! But I've got it's a way of like breaking my brain for a second to get it off track so I don't spiral.
I thought you were going to say the thing where you like, and I'm sure you do this too, where you like forget, straight up just forget that it happened. Like, I went to Walmart the other day. Where the fuck did I go there for? It was like the first time I'd been there since the pandy, and it was terrifying. But I went in there specifically for like, oh, it's stupid, but I went in there for something, right? And like as I was walking in, my brain went, oh, I can get Bean a dog toy. Oh, guess the fuck what? I can't. Like I keep fucking forgetting. Like my brain is not there yet, dude.
Yeah.
Sucks. Like I'm sure that happens to you. Like when you said like spring is like a super, thing with your mom, and like I'm sure stuff happens and you're like, oh, I want to tell my mom, and then you're like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The whole reason that I rearranged my family room, like it's even more different now, but the entire reason that like the family room is turned around was that so she could look at the squirrels on the back deck.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at the squirrels on the back deck, I like have that moment of recollection of that's the reason this is all turned around this way. That's the way like and like I could turn it back to where it was, but then if I turn it back to where it was, I'll be like, oh, I turned it back so that I wouldn't remember that I turned it around the other way.
Right. It's not going to help.
Right.
I know. The couch that I bought recently, I literally bought it just to go in front of the window so Bean could look out the whole front window. And now he's not fucking here. I'm like, this fucking stuff.
I talked to my dad today.
What happened? Did you see another bear?
No, I called him just to, whatever. I am who I am. Like, I just want to check on him and make sure he's not, like, lonely old people is not a good thing, even if it's my father who I hate.
I know.
But he, again, seems to be thriving. Like, he just told me how much better he's doing and how much he can get around by himself. And then he was complaining about some of his neighbors, which was good to hear him just like normally complain about things. Then he told me one of his friends got a new gun and he went over to his friend's house to watch him shoot it and how fast it can shoot bullets and how far it can shoot bullets. And I was like, ugh, that's not my scene at all.
No.
And then he told me he went to Walmart and bought some DVDs. So he's been watching movies. And I was like, this guy's fine. And then he told me, he goes, and I just want you to know, I don't know how much longer I'm going to live, but I'm never coming back to Royal Oak. Ooh. And I was like, that's fine.
Were you like, nobody's asking for you, idiot?
I was like, that's fine. And it was maybe we talked for like 15 minutes. And then that motherfucker, he's so manipulative. It's like 15 minutes. The conversation has waned. It's about to end. It's going to end. And he goes, can you still hear me? And I go, yeah. And he goes, the flowers up here are so pretty. Your mom would be so happy to see all of her flowers. I just wish she could see her flowers. And maybe they're good because she's up here taking care of them. And bye. And he hangs up the phone.
God.
And then he like left me in a wreck.
Yeah, they have like one lucid moment of like being a normal human. And then you're like, oh, next time he calls, he's just going to tell you he fucking despises you and he wish you died.
In this conversation, he does that where right before he said he was never coming to Royal Oak, he said, I just want you to know you're my son and I love you, but I'm never coming back to Royal Oak. There's nothing in Royal Oak for me. And I was like, oh, me? Like I'm your son. I'm your son. I'm in Royal Oak. You just said you loved me. Then you told me there's nothing in Royal Oak for you.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy manipulative.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my great family interaction today. You got your broheim and I got my dadheim.
Yeah. No, I don't think I have any other family stories right now. My cousin's having a baby. My brother's having a baby. No babies here. Oh, get that out of here. Pandemic weight is enough for me. I'm already having enough trouble getting that off. Don't really need.
Speaking of kids, there was a moment today where I was like, just because I don't know. I mean, I've always liked I taught, I was a parapro, I was a school bus driver. I think kids are funny. I loved when my nephew was growing up and I babysat him. Their kids are so strange and weird and such a strange thing. But like today, I looked outside my window, so I was looking for a garbage day, and so I was looking to see if anybody else had put their garbage out. And across the street from me, one of the neighbor kids, I think he's probably like 8 or 9, was just laying like on his back with his arms and legs outstretched on the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, whatever. Like you see a kid out there, you don't think much about it. And then I did some stuff and washed some dishes. And then I walked past the window again and he was still there. And it was like 15 minutes later. And then it got stuck in my brain a little bit. And I went upstairs and did some more stuff. And then I came down and I looked and he was still there and like hadn't moved. And I was like, is anybody checking on that kid? Like, is he okay? Like, kids aren't supposed to, I don't think kids lay that still that long. But then, like, the next time I looked, he was gone, and I didn't hear any ambulances or anything. So I guess he was just chilling in the lawn, which is great. Like, I'm glad that there's a kid somewhere laying in the grass, dreaming, staring up at the sky.
I know the clouds were really good today. Maybe he was making stuff out of the clouds.
I hope so. Cute. I love to see it. I'm so glad that, like, there was a kid outside looking at the clouds or the skies or just talking to the worms and the birds.
You're a worm.
You're a bird.
I've been meaning to bring this up for like weeks. I don't know why, but like normally, okay, I'll watch the fights on Saturday nights and then Sunday I'll get up and like have my calm day where I like mostly answer work messages and just watch like 2020s and Datelines all day. And I know it sounds disturbing, but it's so fucking cozy for me. I just want to watch crime shows all day. So anyway, I was watching this 2020 the other day and you know how many fucking crime things I've seen, like every single one under the sun. Everything that they do, every method they use, every word they use, whatever the fuck, I know all of it. So twice in one episode, 2 things surprised me and made me think. I wanted to tell you about them. One thing, this lady, she disappeared or got kidnapped. I don't remember what the story was, but they found her car and it had been like lit on fire, right? So they were like, did she do this? Did she crash? Blah, blah, blah. So the first thing like the detective did was, what did they say? Or they knew it was, or obviously they knew it was her car, but they wanted to know if it was her or somebody else. So they literally found somebody that was her exact height and made them get in the driver's seat. And the pedals were like made longer than she would have been. Is that so fucking smart? I would have never thought that in my life.
You're not watching enough Columbo.
God, that was so fucking smart. Like it's a burnt ass car. You could have been like, oh, I don't know. Like, I would have never been like, okay, let's get somebody her exact height. Anyway, so that's the one thing. And then this is the second thing that really fucked me up. It was a lawyer or prosecutor that was talking about it, but this could go for like cops. This could go for ambulance drivers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you know how you obviously talk about hour a lot in the comic book store and whatever the fuck. And like I've worked at quite a few places. And you know how like when you have a bad experience at a job, every time you drive by and you're like, that motherfucking place. Like, you know how you get like,
Yeah.
But it's like it hasn't been that many places along your life. It'll be like, oh, there's one on this side of town and there's one over there. And you don't think about it that much. So this prosecutor was talking about, he's like, I've been a prosecutor in this area for like 20 years. He's like, every single place I drive has to do with a case. It like haunts you everywhere you fucking go. So like if you're a cop or an ambulance driver or a lawyer or whatever in the same area for a number of years, like, can you imagine that? Like driving by and like, oh, I found a dead body there. Or I found this here. Or somebody had a heart attack there. That would be so crazy.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who his family owned a funeral home in Royal Oak. And he was talking about how that's the way it is for like them. Like all day long, every single day, you're looking at addresses and sending people out to pick up bodies, and every single place in Royal Oak is like, oh yeah, it's all associated with someone dead.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
I really never thought of that. I've always thought it would be cool to be a detective or even a lawyer or blah, blah, blah. I would have never thought like everywhere I drove, I would just see gnarly shit on the way home.
Yeah. When I worked at Kinko's back in the 90s, I worked midnight shift. So we would get these things called legal jobs where if the prosecutor has something, the defendant gets a copy of it. If the defendant has like they all have to have the same information for the case.
Yeah.
So lawyers would bring in huge boxes of like receipts and just everything. And we had to make one copy of each and send it to the other side. If it was the defense, the prosecution, defense, whatever. So it was these huge jobs. But because we were there alone at midnight and there weren't very many customers, we also had to do like the police legal cases that had to do with criminal deaths and stuff. What? So we had to make copies of all of the crime scene photographs.
No.
And everybody that I know that worked at Kinko's that did it, because there were a lot of people who refused to do it. Like, we've all got trauma from some of the photographs that we've seen of just car accidents and murders and construction site scenes, and you just had to make copies of them. And I mean, you got to look at them because you got to make sure the copy is coming out right. Like, and so you've got all this stuff in your head, like, not for nothing, and trigger warning, I guess, whatever on these whatever we're talking about. But like, I had a case once where a guy and his daughter were on a construction site down at like Zug Island, and he was in an area where they weren't supposed to be. And a giant, the only way I can explain it is like, have you ever seen Terminator 2?
Mm-hmm.
Like a giant metal smelter tipped over on their car, and it, like, obviously it's red hot molten metal, but the way that it hit the car, like there was splash, but it immediately destroyed like the roof of the car. And then like the daughter was gone, but like it had cooled enough for the guy that sitting in the driver's seat, there was just a metal skeleton sitting behind the driver's seat.
No.
Crazy.
No. That's insane, first of all.
See, that's the no that I do when things jump into my head, what you just did. No.
I know. What? Okay, first of all, why don't police stations have copy rooms? Like, you shouldn't be looking at that shit. That's not, how is that legal?
I think they probably do now. I think that now color copiers are so prevalent. I'm sure they do all in-house stuff. But this is the 90s, and so like color copiers weren't even a thing. I'm sure they probably at the time were doing like getting copies of the actual photos, like going to the photo place to get a reproduction, like get doubles and triple copies. But at Kinko's, you could take a 4x6 and you could blow it up to 18x24 so that you didn't have to you could set it. It was the era of starting when people started putting boards up in law rooms and like showing giant posters. Because all of a sudden we had the technology to start making posters cheaply.
I like how I told you something I thought was super interesting, and then you hit me with the fucking metal skeleton story. Like, how am I supposed to compete with that? What the fuck?
You're not watching, I said it, you're not watching enough Columbo. Columbo's like straight move is check where the pedals are in the car if the person's feet can reach. See if the seat has been moved forward or backward for that person. And most importantly, get a person the same height, sit them in the driver's seat, and then see if they can see in adjust the rear view mirror. Because if the person's taller or shorter, they'd immediately adjust it and not adjust it back when they got out.
That's true.
And they wouldn't know where to put it once they got if they're with a deado.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Didn't you too, like, it used to be before people could send nudes and they would have to like print out weird nude photos?
Oh my God. Yes. I had a friend that worked at it was Liberty Pharmacy in Royal Oak. And it was like, you just everybody took their photographs there to get their photos developed. And so any creeper that was taking nude pictures of his wife or nude pictures of her husband or whatever, they just took them there to get developed. And then usually, according to my friend who worked there, like you just make an extra copy for yourself, and then they have a whole like box full of like random nudo pictures.
No.
People would come into Kinko's though all the time, and at midnight, especially midnight, to use our color copiers, and you could tell that they were color copying stuff. Just their actions and the way they acted and the way they'd hide what they were doing, where they were making copies, you could tell they were doing nudie, porny type stuff.
Nudie pics.
Back in the era when you couldn't Google horse vagina and then see 9,000 photographs of it.
Dingdongs.com.
Rock hard ding dongs.
It's funny when you talk like a 7-year-old.
Rock hard ding dongs? Is that what 7-year-olds say?
Well, imagine what my brother would want us to say right now if we were using nasty words.
Yeah.
No, not doing it.
Not doing it.
We must describe things as an 8-year-old, 7-year-old.
I think it's the easiest way to deal with gross stuff is to talk about it the way a 7-year-old would talk about gross stuff.
No, I can't say stuff like that. No, can't do it.
I don't want to say like oiled shafts.
Ew! Stop!
Or like thick bulbous meat sticks.
Okay. Too many adjectives, bro. Just leave your adjectives off this fucking shit. What was the UFO Bible shit you wanted to tell me about?
Oh no, I was telling you when the last time we talked that I watched the 9-hour convention of Catholic scientists.
Yes, fucking rager.
Talking about, yeah, right?
Turn up on a fucking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is.
Drop the fucking beat. It was 9 hours of 9 hours of Catholic scientists talking about aliens, and I knew no one would watch it.
Wait. Sit back again. Something on your body is making static. Do you have something metal on you?
No.
Okay, anyway, you're better now. Go ahead.
9 hours of Catholic scientists. I knew no one was going to watch it, but I was. Like, I want to know what the Catholic Church is saying about aliens.
Yeah, so wait, what is it called again?
It was the
Catholic
Extraterrestrial and Artificial Intelligence Conference from the Committee of Catholic Scientists.
So it's like what the church thinks about aliens.
Yes, but instead of having like actual popes and cardinals talk, they just brought in well-known Catholic scholars and Catholic scientists. And
didn't you say in 9 hours they came to like nothing?
They just said that it's okay to believe in aliens.
Oh yeah, you said it was like a symposium on whether it's okay for religious people to entertain this idea.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, because a lot of really religious people think that you can't because somehow aliens are against like the idea of God creating humans.
True.
And so they were just pointing out the fact that like, which I've talked about this in my lectures, especially because I've had people, I try and stay away from religion in my lectures, but people will ask me like, I'm really religious. Can I believe in like ghosts? Can I believe in aliens? Can I believe in Bigfoot? And my answer has always been basically what the what the Catholic scientists said, which was, if you're going to believe that God is a creator, then it's absolutely all right to entertain those thoughts, because what creator only creates one thing? Like Beethoven didn't write one piece of music, Picasso didn't paint one painting. God wouldn't just create the earth and people and then be done. Like God would go somewhere else and make more planets and more things on those planets and more things, and he would continue to create. And so, yeah, it's okay to entertain those ideas, but you still always have to keep God up top, number one.
But isn't the whole thing that people were created in God's image? So if they're having thoughts that they like aliens, doesn't that mean that God likes aliens?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really get too specific on what they were talking about, because I think they actually get a little, a lot of people equate angels and demons with aliens and stuff like that. And they tried to really stray away from that. And they tried to just say like, God's a creator. The universe is filled with potentiality for life and God's creations. God is still above all, so never take your eyes off the prize. JC and the old man are number one.
I pictured like a big foam finger when you said that. Like,
but it was funny because it was also so much too. Like it's such a weird like narrow thread to weave, because they also have to talk about the fact that they are scientists. And so they kind of have to address like I found a lot of the conference to be them talking about like it's okay also to believe in science. I found that part of it super interesting, because it almost seemed to be like them saying you can believe in God and you can trust in God, but there's a reason we have aspirin, and there's a reason that we have doctors, and there's a reason why, like, we have science. Like, science is okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to believe that, like, you can sprinkle holy water on something and cure yourself.
Right. You can believe that, but you can also like go to a doctor and say, could you help me out with this lump?
Yeah, this little What okay, so I obviously don't know that much about religion and I never read the Bible, but what are people supposed to be understanding that, like, if you believe in heaven, is it above space then? Because people believe in space.
It's a different dimension.
Oh.
It's a higher plane.
Oh. Got it. I was thinking of it more like a location. What I was going to ask too is, do they have that thing every year or like every 5 years or what's
No.
Never? Was that the first one ever?
I think they have that symposium. They just don't talk about aliens and stuff.
Oh. See, how do we make it so you can go to like the Vatican and talk about aliens, UFOs?
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, but can we though? We can do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think any of the people, you know, I used to know when I saw that exorcism in 99, I used to know a bunch of people that worked at the Archdiocese in Detroit. I think they're all dead now, but
that's where I was going. I'm like, wait, you know a guy, at least from the exorcism.
I don't know. I could probably look through the little paperwork that I have and find, I'm sure some of them are still alive. A lot of times those popes and cardinals and archbishops all live to be like 1,000 years old.
I know we're gonna go there, and it'll be like the Omen, and there'll be a guy sitting outside with milky eyeballs. And oh God, we have to.
Everything's a horror movie, and
I know it could happen.
Be an old man with milky eyeballs shaking outside of the Vatican.
Yes, and then it's just
go into the 6th room.
Yes. We really do have to go on like an international spooky tour. Somebody invite us to stay at your house in Europe or wherever. We're coming.
We could do I could do a lecture around the Pope statue in Hamtramck.
I don't want to go to Hamtramck. There was just a shooting there tonight. I just saw it on the news. I don't want to go there.
Did you ever see the Pope statue that's in Hamtramck?
No. I saw the fake Disneyland that's there.
Well, the Pope went and visited there in, I don't even know, it was like 91 or 92 or something like that. But they built a Pope statue in Hamtramck, and it's so funny because it's cast in bronze, I think, and because of the weather, it's turned real, like dark, almost black. And the pose that the Pope is in is he's supposed to have his arms up above his head, like welcoming people, but he's got his Pope robes on. And so now that it's black, it looks like it's a giant Bela Lugosi Dracula statue in the middle of Hamtramck.
I want to see it.
It's so funny. If you drove by it, you would be like, there's a Dracula statue in Hamtramck.
Wait, one of my clients like worked for the Archdiocese before, and she told me he came here. I'm like, the Pope came here? I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. So this is crazy. When I worked at Kinko's, I knew this guy, Alex, and Alex was this, I don't know, he was kind of a big bullshit artist, but he was an older guy and he was from Europe. He told me one time, I was talking about the Vatican and probably the Bible and UFOs probably. And he was like, oh, I met the Pope one time. I was in the Vatican and he was walking through and I was with one of my friends who works at the Vatican and he introduced me to the Pope. And then I went and had tea with the Pope, this Pope John Paul. And I was like, there's no way that like this guy had tea with Pope John Paul. Then the Pope comes to Detroit and like I jokingly said, like, are you going to meet with your friend the Pope when he comes to Hamtramck? And he's like, oh, I might go see him, like whatever. And I laughed it off. And I think it was a few days after the Pope came, he came back into Kinko's and I was like, so did you go and see the Pope? Did you meet your old friend the Popey? And he was like, yeah, I went to Hamtramck and he went to my friend's house and we all met him and shook his hand and you kissed the ring and you bowed to him and whatever. And I was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. And Alex went out to his car, got a newspaper, and paper had been following the Pope around, and they went to his visit in this lady's house, and Alex is sitting there with the fucking Pope, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Yeah, that lady said she met like 2 or 3 popes or some shit. She was so interesting. She's like, yeah, me and my husband ran a radio station for a while, and I grew up like rock and roll, and she like loved all these cool rock and roll bands. And then she's like, then I worked for the Archdiocese. I'm like, you need to write a book, lady. She was rad.
I'm still trying to figure out. Remember, we had there was the Pope that was the Pope, and then he just quit being Pope.
Yeah, there was like it was like what 12 years ago or something.
Yeah, but you remember they like made him Pope, and he was like, okay, now I'm done, and he just like quit being Pope.
Did he look like kind of young? Not young, but young for a Pope.
He looked young at the beginning, and then he aged out like Dracula real quick. Ratzinger.
Mm.
Well, first of all, not a great Pope name.
Oh, terrible.
Ratzinger.
Ratzinger.
But then I think there was something too. I think that maybe he had been a Nazi.
Oh, sure. Sounds like a Nazi name, not a Pope name.
Like, but there was one of those stories where it was like, oh no, he was a boy in Austria when the Germans were doing Nazi youth, but not him.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden he was like, yeah, I don't want to be Pope anymore. I think he's still alive, but I think he's the first person in like hundreds of years to like say, I'm out.
Yikes. They were getting close to something.
Something.
It's so weird when people get in positions of power and they're just like, well, there's no way they're going to find out about that. Come on. Come on.
Right?
Come on. Like, even if whatever entity you work for doesn't find out, like some dumbass drunk neighbor is going to say something.
Yeah, it's, again, the fact that we live in a world where people think that stuff isn't going to come out.
Yeah.
Or that someone doesn't know. Like, that's the thing that always cracks me up when people are like, the government's spying on me. They're going to see all my secrets. It's like, they already do. They already can. They just don't care about you right now. You're not doing anything to be on their lists, to do anything.
Yeah.
So you're fine. But someone somewhere knows your shit. That's what you're worried about, is you know that someone knows your shit.
I know. We don't care about anything.
No, fucking no.
I know.
But then, like you said, people get in positions of power and they're like, oh, no one's going to ever figure out that I've had 45 mistresses and keep Venmoing PayPal and like prostitutes. No one's ever going to find that out.
Yep. I don't really care what anybody does, just as long as they get in power and like do stuff for other people.
Right?
Everybody has their shit that they've done or their shit that they're into. I don't care what you're into. Just like, don't pass that weirdness on to other people and judge other people when you have more skeletons than anybody. That's not right.
I think it's interesting. I don't know where this comes from too. Maybe, I mean, people just don't give a fuck. Maybe they don't care and people just don't have secrets. But I think it's really weird. Like, as a person who is 100% sure, absolutely, which there's not a lot I can be 100% sure about. But as a person who is 100% sure that there are no naked photos of me anywhere, I think it's weird that I have naked photos of other people that were unsolicited.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
Like, I think that's really weird. Like,
it's like a thing like when people are flashers. It's like that doesn't do anything it's like a weird, they get off on that. So it's basically like somebody internet flashing you.
Right.
And that's how they get excited.
Well, good for them if that's what they're going for.
Good for that. Good for unsolicited dudes.
I'll tell you what, though. Good for them. I'm glad they're getting something out of it. But whether it's a giant nipple pit or a rock hard dong, like, it's not doing nothing for me.
Yeah. They'd be better off to send you a bear pic.
Yeah, you'll get a response out of a bear pic for sure.
No, I know. I tweeted about that the other day. How people, their fucking move right now is to send me pictures of their dog to make me feel better. Like, let's not do that. Can we not? And then I tweeted something like, when you hear that somebody's grandma dies, do you send them pictures of your fucking alive grandma? No.
Right.
Like, don't send me pictures of your alive ass dog right now. I don't fucking want to see it. Any other time in my life, yes. Right now, I'm jealous and I'm pissed off.
Yes.
So stop it. Just don't do that. You would send me a picture of like a turtle or an otter or fucking
beaver,
a capybara. Don't fucking show me a dog right now. Do not like. Hashtag do not like. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
How's our Patreon doing?
Good. We have so many lovely Patreons. We made a video yesterday that only Patreons can see. We acted like real idiots.
You posted it.
I posted it. Yeah, I feel like me and you went, okay, what are we going to say? And then we went, I don't know. And then we just hit play. We just hit record. Like, we don't even think about what we're doing ever. We just let it rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I looked sweaty in the video. Fucking whatever.
Whatever. Dude, I'm bald and fat old man with no teeth. Like, what? You're fine.
I'm not. Wait, I'm not?
I am.
You're not either. I feel like a fat, bald old man.
Do you feel like me?
I feel like, no, just like any fat, bald old man.
Like Ziggy, the cartoon Ziggy?
Ziggy, yeah.
Do you remember?
I don't really consider him fat. That was just their shape. He was just like a potato.
I just thought of something. Are you old enough? Do you appreciate a deep dive into Ziggy? Do you remember how popular Ziggy was in the 70s and 80s?
I really don't. I can picture what he looked like in my head, and he just looked like a ball.
People loved Ziggy in the 70s and 80s.
Do they still have the funnies in papers?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
They have to, right?
Maybe.
They're probably just not funny because fucking the world blows now.
Newspaper comics were never funny. You just read them, and then you were like, yeah.
The cat with the lasagna.
Yeah.
Another zinger.
Mondays.
Mondays. What was that lady with the slippers on?
Kathy?
Kathy.
Is that you're talking about? Or she would go, ack! Everyone.
Yep.
Kathy, Garfield, Heathcliff, Ziggy,
Calvin Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, Snoopy.
Oh, the Peanuts.
Whatever.
Yeah, Snoopy.
Yeah, Peanuts.
God, I loved Peanuts as a kid.
I know, I still love you. You have to watch like Peanuts Christmas and Halloween specials every year. I love when Snoopy goes, ah, or whatever he does.
Ah. I think I always liked Woodstock, the little bird that was with him.
I know. He like flies off into a circle.
Yep. And then Pigpen with his
dirt
flies all around him and dirty blanket.
Dirt.
Did you ever have a dirty friend when you were growing up?
I don't know. I can't think.
I had one.
You had a dirty friend or just like somebody in class with you?
No, I had a friend that was like the dirty kid in the neighborhood. My best friend, though.
Why didn't you ever tell him that he was a dirt?
I think we knew that he was like, we were, lower middle class. And I think that they were like a step beneath us. So you just didn't really say anything about it.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. His personality wasn't horrible. He was my best friend.
Yeah. Well, it was nice of you to be his friend and not be a jerk.
He was cool. He was my age and he had a bike. And he lived next door to the most dangerous dog in the world.
What was it?
Listen, I have traumatic memories of that dog chasing me down, barking at me every time I drove by the fence. I mean, this dog traumatized me because it was huge and it was evil. The dog's name was Fletcher. And that dog scared me so bad. Jump ahead to 4 or 5 years ago. I see my former best friend at a bar, and we haven't seen each other in 30 years. And I start talking about him living next door to Fletcher, the horrible dog, and he starts laughing. Fletcher was like a 10-year-old basset hound.
What? I'd be scared of a basset hound. Or like a potato.
It was his bark was so loud.
Yeah.
I think that's all I ever knew is that there was a dog and I would hear the bark, and in my brain it got built up that there was a giant dog back there.
I know, I was picturing like a fucking Rottweiler.
And no, it was a big fat old basset hound.
You would love him now.
I would love him. Did you ever see the Basset Hound Parade in Birmingham?
No.
They used to do, I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to do every summer a Basset Hound Parade in Birmingham, Michigan. And they would have hundreds of Basset Hounds walking down the main street in Birmingham. And it was the greatest thing in the whole world. But they did it in the summer, and the parade is like 9 or 10 blocks long. So at the back of the parade is a giant flatbed truck, and they have to constantly scoop up the dogs that just lay down. And then there's a whole truck that is at the end of the parade that's just all old, tired basset hounds.
Oh my God. If they still do it, we have to go.
Yes.
I feel like I heard of a pug parade. Maybe that was in New Orleans or something. There's one somewhere.
Basset hounds' legs are so short, making them walk like 9 blocks is too much.
Making any dog walk 9 blocks is a lot. But anyway, you know that I bought a vintage, I don't know how old it is, but it looks pretty friggin' old. I bought this prayer kneeler, wooden prayer kneeler on Facebook Marketplace for $20. And you know, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was unconscious reason, but like I picked it up on Thursday and I just now brought it in my house yesterday. So like I feel when I like unconsciously, subconsciously, whatever the fuck word I'm trying to say, you know, when I'm unconscious and I try to do things. Anyway, I like when I do stuff like that and purposely don't bring it in my house at first. Like, I don't know if I'm doing that on purpose or not. You know what I mean? Like maybe it needs a couple days to chill out. I didn't mean to do it, but I did do it. So now that it's in my house, I feel like I'm not scared of it, but it definitely has an energy. Like I feel like it's staring at me.
Mm.
Is that weird?
I mean, I don't think it's weird.
It's got a presence for sure. I'm not scared. It's not like a bad presence. It's like I keep looking at it. I feel like it's fucking looking at me. It's weird. It's cool as fuck. I'm keeping it. I'm not going to sell it, but I hope it settles in here. We've had this talk before too, how we buy weird shit and like the activity in our house will like whip up for like a week and then it just like learns to coexist with the other weird shit you have.
Yep.
So I hope just the energy calms down eventually, but right now it feels real weird.
Just give it time.
I know. Yeah. I mean, something like that. And we've said this before too, how I'm like, I'm not religious whatsoever, but like I fucking love churches. Like I love any building like that that's had, you know, X amount of people walk into it over its life. And regardless of if you're religious or not, like a lot of people's hopes and dreams and fears and whatever are poured into that building and that shit stays there. And I like love it. I always feel like obviously very powerful energy when I'm in a church. And that's not religious. That's like human vibe. I don't know what it is, but that's how I feel about this thing. I'm like, whatever people did on this thing, I feel like I could feel it.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm kind of the same way. Sometimes like, obviously, when I'm meditating or trying to get to a good place in my brain, like I know I can do that anywhere. But over the years, like sometimes I will go to a church at like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday when nobody's there and just like sit in one of the pews. And I feel like it's an amplifier.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Agree.
I just feel like so many people have put so much intention into it and their minds are so focused for once when they're in church.
Yeah, like quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I like it. Anything else? Sniffles?
I don't know why I'm sniffling.
I think it's allergies. I was sneezing earlier.
I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else?
Nah.
Nah?
Nah.
All right.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you later.